We are at the beginning of the second perek, the second chapter of Berachos, which is Chaf Amud Beis 20b. Here we go. Bameh Madlikin. And there is a custom in many communities, and was the custom for 1,000 years in the Ashkenazi communities, that Friday night, in some shuls between Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv, and some shuls after Ma'ariv, they would say the Mishnah of this chapter, Bameh Madlikin. More recently, over the last couple hundred years, in shuls at Daven Sfard, it was replaced by the Hasidim with Kegavna, which is a section from the Zohar. But the original minhag and the minhag of many shuls is still to say this perek, Bameh Madlikin, and it contains some basics in the preparation for Shabbos. So the Gemara is gonna explain what all the things are, but the Mishnah begins with Bameh Madlikin of Bameh Madlikin. What can you light with, use as your candles, fuel and oil, fuel and wick, and what may you not? So Madlikin lebelechesh, velebechosem, velebechalach, velebesilas idam, velebesilas amidva, veleberakash al pnei hamayim. So there's a list of things you cannot use as a wick, as the flame will be on, and then the next list is going to be what the fuels cannot be, and the Gemara is going to go through each one of these, what they are, and what cannot be fuel. So zephes is tar, shava is wax, shemen kik, the Gemara is going to have various opinions. Shemen sreifa is oil that is tamei teruma oil, which needs to be burned. Alya is fats from tail, and chalev is forbidden fats that come from an animal that are not allowed to be eaten. Nacham Amadi, he says that you can actually use oil that comes from chalev, the forbidden fats, if they are released, if they've been what's the word I'm looking for? Softened by heat. What's the word?
Rendered.
Yes, thank you. If they've been rendered. The Chachamim, however, the Chachamim disagree. You're not allowed to use it regardless of whether they are still solid or being rendered. And the Gemara is going to ask, that seems to be the same opinion as the first. So what the first opinion says, you can't use chalev, and then Nachum Amadi says you can use it if it's been heated up and rendered, and the Chachamim say no, you may not. So that seems the same opinion. Okay. So what is lechesh? So lechesh is shucha de arza. The Gemara first says that it's with either the bark or a part of the shucha de arza, which we saw earlier. It's a part of the tree. So Gemara says, of course you can't use that. Shucha da'arza eitz ba'almu. That is it's just a piece of wood, and wood's not going to make a good wick. So Gemara says, ba'armanisa de isbe. This is some sort of particles or threads that are between the bark and the tree itself. And that could perhaps be spun into some sort of twine and made into a wick. And nevertheless, you shouldn't use that.
Not saying it means anything, but if you look at a cedar tree, not that those cedar trees or those cedar trees, or that even they're talking about cedar trees, but if you look at the bark of a cedar tree, that it has all sorts of fibers there, like fuzz.
So those fuzz things could not be spun into. It cannot be spun into a thread or a twine and made into a.
Can I weigh in on cedar bark, because I weave it?
Sure.
The outer bark of the cedar, you peel off, and then it's the inner bark that one uses, and the outer bark is useless. The inner bark is soft, but I don't think you could make it into a wick, but it would probably not very, very good.
Right. That's why you can't use it.
Yeah.
As the Gemara is going to tell us, all these wicks, they don't burn. They either singe or don't burn well, and they don't draw up the fuel well. So that's the issue. All right. Thank you. You can't use chosen of Yosef ne'ura shel pishtan. That's flax strands or flax, the parts that fall off when you're making when you're beating flax out of linen out of flax. So you get some fibers that come off, and you want to turn that into twine and make it into a wick. Is also not going to be it. Amar le Abayis said, how can you say that it's Neuras or Pishtam? It was, and the Chasan became Neuras. So you see that the flax is not the same as the Neuras. And where it says, Elam Abaye kitna the dayik v'loy nafetz. What it is it's flax itself, the linens that has been broken down but not actually been brushed. So basically, in the linen making process, the way they would make the linens is that you have to beat after you soak it, you beat it down, and it turns into strands, and then you have to comb it out, and it's been beaten down but not combed. What is chalach? So chalach is some sort of seaweed or sea greens. So which one is it? I asked all of these sailors. It's the substance called kulcha. He says that it's gushkara. Yeah. Ravin Abaye Aviyasa Kamid Ravna. The Ravna Nechemia. Achud Reish Galusa. They were sitting next to the brother of the Reish Galusa. Chazi to have a lavish metachsa. They saw it is wearing this thing, some sort of silk garment. This is a type of, this is kalach. This is this silk that we're talking about. The Tanan in our Mishnah. Amar le anan shira paradna karina le. Oh, we call it paradna silk. Mesave. So he asked a contradiction. How can you say that it's these that it's this type of silk or silk substance or some sort of waste of silk? We learned mesave ashirayim, silk garments, v'hakalach, and kalach, which is in our Mishnah, and sirikin, they are all chayavim b'tzitzis. They are obligated in tzitzis, and the halacha here is referring to the machlokas of whether only wool and linen garments are required are obligated in tzitzis, you're required to put on tzitzis on the corners, or do we say no? Every garment, including silks and cotton, would also be obligated in tzitzis. So this brisa is saying that even silk is obligated in tzitzis, but it makes a distinction between shirayim and kalach. So you can't tell me that kalach is a type of silk because it mentions silk and then it mentions kalach separately. So tiyufta, so that seems a contradiction. Or perhaps it's not a contradiction. Shira lachud v'shira paradna lachud. There's general silk, and then there's paradna shira, which is a different type of silk, and that's what kalach is. So we have a machlokas in the Gemara what this kalach is. Either it's a type of silk or some sort of other byproduct. V'lev psila se'idan. What is psila se'idan? Achvina is a type of willow. Rabbi Abaye avaka azli bepakta de tamrurisa. They were walking through this marketplace, this place. Chazinu lahu arvasa. saw a willow. That's what the Mishnah means when it says the waist of Edom, the threads of Edom. Now, Amalei, he eats Baalmahu. He says, well, you can't make a wick out of that. That's just like it's a willow branch. It's just a wood. So he said to him, Klaf, peel off, and he showed him Armanisa the Beni. Showed him again this thready, stringy part that's between the bark and the tree. And not with the threads of the midbar. What are those? So he says that they are shavra. It's some sort of long, thin grass. And also not the green that's on the water. What's the green on the water? Is it some sort of seaweed? So if ruchim afarcha, those are no good. Those break up, they crack. Rapapa said, it's the moss that grows on the bottom of the boats near the water. And they would spin those into threads, and that too is no good. That won't burn well. Tana Sif Alein, and in the Brisa we have an additional term, additional list of things that won't work for your wick. Shal tzemer, wool, v'shal sar, and hair. Wool and hair are not going to make good wicks either. But Tana did done tzemer michvitz chavitz, and our Tana didn't list it because it says that wool won't even it's not a bad wick. It's not even a wick. It just singes or just covets is that it jumps together. That's a term for covets. It shrinks maybe. And sar it just gets singed. Either way, they would never even that wouldn't even begin to be a thread a wick that's not good. It's not even a wick. Now the Gemara is going to turn to the fuel that the Mishnah mentions. Below is Zephas, and not in Zephas. What is Zephas? Zifta, tar. Shava kirusa, and shava is wax, which they call kirusa. Tana Adkan, and so the Brisa says up until here we were talking about psilas, the invalid threads or wicks. Mikan ve'elech psul shemanim. From here on, the Mishnah is listing the invalid oils. Pshita, it's obvious. When we're talking about tar, we're not going to make a wick out of tar. And when it says shavit tzrichalin, I needed to tell you that wax, which perhaps you would have thought could be a wick, it isn't. They would tell you that it can't be a wick. Kamash Malan, that's not an invalid wick. I don't know how you would make a wick out of wax, if that would work, but beeswax, but that's what it is. Amar Rami bar Avin Atrana Pasolta de Zifta. Itran is the waste of tar, and shava and wax is psolta de duvsha, is the waste of honey. Now itran in English I think is I'm forgetting what it's called right now. Move on. I forgot the English word. It's used for fuel today. So what difference does it make that the Gemara has to tell us that these are the waste products of tar and honey? For sale. If somebody sells a product and says, look, I have wax for you, it must be stam wax, it must be beeswax. That's the general thing. If you have another type of wax, then you have to be specific. Tanar Kol elu she'omrei madlika be'Shabbos. So we are now on Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph at the top, the 21a. the Bryce, it says all the things that we said you may not use for lighting for Shabbos. But you are allowed to make a larger flame as your fire in your fire pit or in your fireplace with that. Whether you're using it to be for warmth or for light, that's going to be fine. It's only for the candle you can't use it. And regardless of whether you use it on the ground or in a kira in your oven, these are things that's permissible. And the only prohibition is to make a wick for the candle on Shabbos. That's invalid. But if you're going to use them for a larger fire in your fireplace or in your fire pit, that's fine. The Gemara is going to analyze the next one in the Mishnah, which is Lev Shem and Kik. What is that? My Shem and Kik. Amar Shmuel Shaltinu l'chalachute yam. I asked all the sailors. But Amrli of echad yesh bekroche hayam. There's a bird in Kroche Hayam in the islands of the sea. The Kik Shema, and that bird is called a Kik. So we assume that it means the fats of this bird. Rabbi Yitzchak Bereida, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Mishcha de Kaza, that it's cottonseed oil. Reish Lakish Amar Kikoyon de Yonah. It's this kikoyon, which was a fast-growing plant of that Yonah had. Amar Rabba Bar Bachana. Rabbi Bar Bachana says, I've seen it. I saw one of these kikoyon that Yonah had. And he's going to define it now. And it seems by his definition that he says that it is a good oil. And he's disagreeing with Reish Lakish. It can't be the kikoyon Yonah is bad because it actually is a very good oil. That's the way it seems, what he's saying here. But some say no, that what he's just saying, by the way, for your information, I saw it and I know what, and I can describe it to you. So Amar Rabba Bachana the Dichazli Kikoyon Yonah, well, it's Luliva Dami, and it is similar to a Luliva, which is just a type of plant. With a Pashki Ravi, and it grows out of like a muddy, like a swampy area. And people would hang it in the front of hang the leaves over their shop, in the front of the shop, because it had very large leaves, which would create a good shade. And from their seeds, they make a good oil. And anybody that's ill in the West, in Eretz Yisrael, lays on these leaves and it heals them. Some say it's aloe. Amar Rabba. Rabba said, the wicks that that the Mishnah says
I think it's castor.
Huh?
Castor oil.
What's castor?
Keek.
Keek is castor?
I think so. I mean, a keek, Shem and Keek in Hebrew is, I mean, in modern Hebrew is castor oil, but if you see what...
Well, there are two or three opinions here, so I don't know which one...
The Rav, they quote the Rav here as saying that the leaves are like a hand, which fits with castor oil. They're very good for shade, fits with castor, so... Seems like a likely candidate. And castor oil is castor oil. I mean, it's well known.
I understand, but there are multiple opinions here, so I don't know which one it would be going on. Kikoyon, in Kikoyon Yonah, some say is aloe. I don't know. It's a lot of conjecture.
Yep.
So Amar Rabba, so Rabba said, the wicks that the Chachamim say are invalid, that you can't use for Shabbos. The reason is because the flame jumps with them. It's not a pleasant, steady flame. And the oils that you can't use, because it doesn't get drawn up well into the wick. Miraba. So Abaye asked of Rabba, the oils that you're not allowed to use, can you put some good oil into it? And then when you make that mixture, a little bit of good oil with the not such good oil, now maybe it'll absorb well into the wick, and that would be drawn up well and count as a good fuel. Migazrina, and do we say, no, don't do it. Even if it works well, don't do it, because then somebody may use the invalid oil alone. Migazrina dilma asilad lukibe nayu oiloya. You would concern that someone may use it without including some good oil. Amalei madlikin. No, we don't. You don't light with it at all. My timer. What's the reason? Because you don't light with it when alone, and so even if you add something to it, don't light with it. Esavei asks a contradiction. Korach davar shemadlikim by al gabe davar shemadlikim by. We have a brisa that says if you envelop, you wrap something that that you're not allowed to use for your Shabbos candles, you wrap it in something that you may use. Does that work? So Gemara says, you can't use that. You can't use an invalid Shabbos candle wrapped in a valid Shabbos candle. However, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, "Shall base Abba Yakarchem Sila Gabi Egos Madlikim." That in my father's household, by Rabbi Gamliel, they would actually take a walnut and wrap it in. They would take a walnut and wrap it around the wick, and they would light it that way. So you see that even you can wrap it and light that way. Said, first of all, it's great. You're asking me a contradiction from Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Why don't you bring me proof midatanakama from the first opinion? That's great. You tell me, I said halacha, and you say, wait, what about the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Well, the very fact that there's a machlokes, I'm telling you, the halacha is like one. So Gemara says, no, that's not a question why he would respond that way. Ma'aserav, because he was bringing a practical story. It's not just an opinion. He's saying this is what they did in Rabbi Gamliel's house. That's a good proof for halacha. In any case, so we have a contradiction to Rabbah. The Gemara says, "My lav lahadlik lo lahakvas." It says it wasn't there that he wrapped the wick with walnut, and the walnut was acting as a wick or as a fuel, or rather it was holding up the flame. And it was there as the base of the candle. So Gemara says, "Lahakvas my time at Tanakama." So then, what's the first opinion that says that it's prohibited? Gemara says no. The brisa is shorthand, as brisa is, and it's missing. Tanakama. So Gemara says, "Kula Reb Shimon Gamliel." There's no machlokes, and it's not a first opinion and second opinion. It's all one, and this is the way the brisa means to say. It's missing the transition point. This is what it says. You cannot light with a mixture of valid or invalid fuels or wicks, even if you wrapped one inside the other. That's only if you're using both as a form of your candle. But if it's just the base, it's just holding up your wick and holding up the fuel, mutter, that's permissible, as indeed Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says his father used to do. Sure, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and it said that they would wrap the walnut with a wick and light it. Someone says, "Eini, it's not so." Both fats of fish and chelev, which have been loosened and they're liquefied. So now they can put in some oil, some proper oil into it. and then use it as a source of your Shabbos fuel for your candle. It says as long as it has kolshu, a little bit of oil, that's going to be valid. Umadlik, and you can use it. And what it says, Hani mimshachi beinai. The truth is that fish oil and chaylev that have been liquefied would be a good source of fuel. They would actually draw up well on your wick. However, other oils that our Mishnah mentions don't really get soaked up well and are not a good source of fuel. So Gemara says, so then why don't we use fish oil? Because since these two originally start off, both the chaylev and the fish oil start off as a solid, and you can't use the solid, and it doesn't burn well, and therefore the Chachamim enacted and said, don't use even in its liquid form, because in the solid form it doesn't serve as a good fuel. However, so why don't you also say, and therefore there should be a gzera as well, and an enactment and say, no, offense, don't use, you can't use them when they're solid, so don't use them when they're liquefied, and even when they're in their liquid form, even if you add some good oil into it, you shouldn't be able to use it. So Gemara says, no, he gufa gezerah. The liquid form itself is an enactment. And you want us to make offense to offense? So that you can't do that. And so since really in its liquid form, it's a good fuel, and we're just adding another fuel into it, that a halakhically valid fuel. That should be enough. But in a fuel that's not good, it's not going to work well, such as tar or wax. Adding olive oil into it is not going to make it any better. Tani Rami Bar Chama Psila Shmanim She'amru Chachamim Ein Madlikim Behen B'Shabbos. The wicks and oils that the Chachamim say you cannot light for Shabbos, Ein Madlikim Behen B'Mikdash. You're not allowed to use in the Mikdash. Now, Rabbi Tzvi Fischer points out on the side, in the Beis HaMikdash, for the menorah, for sure you can't use it, because the Torah specifically says you can only use olive oil. So some say that the text Shemanim here is incorrect, and it's only talking about the wicks. Or they say, as the Gemara is going to tell us soon, we're talking about festive lights and not in the Beis HaMikdash itself. In any case, it says in regards to the menorah that it has to be ner tamid. It has to be a consistent, a constant light. And he explains it's not just that it has to be a constant light, because it says lahalos, that it has to go up. That as soon as you light the wick, it has to be that the flame goes up on its own, and not that you have to fix it and encourage it all the time. And if it's not a good wick that's drawing up the oils well, it's not going to be a constant flame that works on its own. Not that you have to help it out in any way. Tanan mibaloi, so there's a Mishnah that says mibaloi mechnasei kahanim, from the worn out garments, from the pants, umimehemneim, and from their belts, they would tear off parts from the worn out garments, and from those pieces they would tear off some parts and make wicks for these torches that were made for the festivities of the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, of the Sukkot celebration of drawing the water from the Mei Shilach and bringing it in for the next day's Nisuch HaMayim. So Tanya Shema, the Tanya Rabba Bar Masna, Big Day Kuhuna, Shabalu Mapkiyin, the garments of the Kahanim that they would use them as wicks. And from them, they would also make wicks for the Beis HaMikdash, seemingly not only for the Simchas Beis Sheva, but also for the menorah. And you just said that you can't use the things that are invalid in our Mishnah for wick are invalid over there. And this is made, and the garments of the Kahanim were made out of wool as well. My lav, the Kilayim. Wouldn't it be the garments that had wool in it as well? The Gemara says, Loy de butz. We're talking about only of the pure linen garments. So we have the list in our Mishnah of invalid fuels and invalid wicks. And the Gemara has said that these are also invalid in the Beis HaMikdash. And now we're going to say that they are also invalid for Chanukah. Amar Rav Huna, Silas Hashmanim Sha'amru Chachamim Emad Likem Em B'Shabbos Emad Likem Em B'Chanukah. You cannot use them on Chanukah either. Bein B'Shabbos or Bein B'Chol. You cannot use them on Chanukah on a weekday or on Shabbos. So we're going to have multiple opinions here, and they are based on two Chanukah concepts. The Gemara is going to have a machlokas here, if by kavsa zakukla or not. The halacha that says that you have to light a candle for Chanukah, does that mean you have to light it and keep it alight? And therefore, if the flame goes out, you have to reignite it? Or kavsa ein zakukla. If it extinguishes, you don't need to reignite it. So that's the question number one. Question number two is, are you allowed to benefit from the light or not? And these are going to make a difference of whether or not you can light with a bad oil or a bad wick for Shabbos or for weekday. If you're allowed to benefit from the light, then you can't use it for Shabbos, because maybe it's not going to be a good light and you're going to extinguish the fire, or you're going to try and change the fire to be better. So that's number one. If you're obligated to reignite it, so then it's also a problem for a weekday. You can't use it on a weekday because it's not a good light, and you're going to light your Hanukkah candles with something that's not a good fuel or not a good wick. And your mitzvah is not only to light the candles, but for them to retain its light and remain lit, and therefore don't use it. However, if you're not obligated in the candle remaining lit, the kapsa ein zaklav, it extinguishes. You're not obligated in lighting it, which means that your obligation is just to make the initial light, and if it dies out, so be it. So then we don't care what kind of candles you're using. And if you're not allowed to benefit from it, so then even Shabbos is no concern. So that's what the various machlokas is going to be now. So Amar Rav Huna said Psilas Hashmanim Shamra Chachamim Madlikim Behen b'Shabbos Ein Madlikim b'Chanukah Bein b'Shabbos Bein b'Chol. The list in our Mishnah that says you cannot use these fuels and these wicks on Shabbos, you also can't use them for Chanukah, regardless of weekday or Shabbos. And the reason is Amar Rav, my time the Rav Huna. What's the reason of Rav Huna? Kasavar, he's of the opinion Kavsa zakukla. If the Chanukah candles died out, you have to reignite them, relight them. And therefore, you have to originally, the mitzvah is not just to have the Chanukah candles lit, not to light them, but to remain lit. And therefore, using a bad oil is not going to be valid. And he also holds, you're allowed to benefit from the light. So even Friday night, where you're not going to relight it, nevertheless, you may be reading in front of the Hanukkah candles, and it's not going to be a good light, and so you're going to move it. Rav Chisda Amar, however, Rav Chisda said, "Madlikim em b'chol." No, you can light it on a weekday, because, as the Gemara is going to explain, he says you're not. The mitzvah is to light the candles, not for it to remain lit. Avalov Shabbos, but you can't use it for Shabbos because, again, the concern is you're going to read by it. So the Gemara explains, Kasavar, he's of the opinion, and now we go to 21b, Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. Kavsa ein zakukla. If the light went out, you're not obligated to relight it. So the mitzvah is just to light the candles and not for it to be lit. But you're allowed to benefit from it on Shabbos, and therefore he's concerned you may move the candles. Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rav Masnav, Amar Lam Rav Zera, Amar Rav. However, Rav's opinion is, No, the list in our Mishnah is only for Shabbos, and you're allowed to use it for Hanukkah both during the week and on Shabbos. And the reason for it is because he holds that he disagrees with both of these. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, my time the Rav, what's the reasoning of Rav? Kasavar, he's of the opinion, Kavsa ein zakukla. If once you lit the candles, even if it dies out, you're not obligated to relight it, which tells us that the mitzvah of Hanukkah candles is not for them to be lit, but for you to light the candle. And that means that the initial ignition of that Hanukkah candle is what the mitzvah is. And the halach is you're not allowed to benefit from the Hanukkah lights. And since you're not allowed to benefit from the light, so the concern on Shabbos that you're going to read at the candle and then it's not going to be a good light because the candle, the flame is jumping or it doesn't draw up enough light that you're going to move the candle is no concern, because in any case you're not allowed to be reading to it. They said this halacha in the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah in front of Abaye, and he didn't accept it. However, but when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael, who was a student of Rabbi Yochanan, and he said, by the way, my teacher Rabbi Yochanan said the same thing, Kibla, then he accepted it. Amar, so Abaye said, Izakai, if I had merited, Gamrirtu l'shmaite miyakar, I would have learned and accepted this teaching earlier on. So Gemara says, so what? What difference does it make? Well, Gamra, in the end, he got the halacha correctly because he learned it from Ravin. Nafkamina l'gursa di yankusa. It's the distinction is this an early teaching or something that you learned later in life? The later you learn something, the harder it is to retain it. The younger you are, the more you retain the information. And so he was sad about not having learned this. It is interesting that when we're talking about the Shabbos candles and the light of Hanukkah, where the candles represent Torah, is where we learn this idea of fresh Torah learning. In any case, the Gemara says, we have. How can you say this halacha is kafsa ein zakukla, that only the initial lighting of the candle is the mitzvah, but not for it to remain lit? And therefore, if it dies out, you don't have to relight the candle. Veraminu, we have a contradiction. Mitzvah, there's a brisa that says, what's the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah? Mishetishka chametz, from when the sun dips beyond the horizon. Ad shetichla regel men hashuk, until the marketplace is empty. My love, the ikavsa hadamadl klav. Wouldn't you say that brisa means that the mitzvah is to have it lit the entire time, and therefore, if the candle went out, you have to relight it? Gemara says, look, the ila adlik madlik. One is, it means to say that's how long you have to light it. If you didn't light it at sunset, you still have time to light it until no one's in the marketplace. Because the mitzvah is persumini. So the mitzvah is to spread the miracle of Hanukkah. And if there's nobody in the marketplace, who you're lighting it for? So that's all it means. It means what's your time limit, not for how long the candle needs to be lit, but what's your time limit to light it? Inami, additionally, l'shiura. The original candle should be long enough that it can last for the 30 minutes that it would take from sunset for the market to empty. So we have the halacha of kafsa in zakukla. If the candle, the mitzvah is the initial igniting of the candle. If it dies out, it's not a problem. And the original mitzvah is to light sometime from sunset all the way to when the people leave the marketplace, and it should have enough oil to last that 30 minutes, where at least 30 minutes that people are leaving the market. How long is that bad? Until the Tarmudai, which were a clan that would gather twigs, and they would sell kindling fuel. They were the last ones out in the market. Tanarban. So the Brisa says, mitzvahs Chanukah, the established mitzvah that the Chachamim enacted for Hanukkah candles is ish ubeso. There's a double mitzvah here. There's a mitzvah on the individual and on the household. Umahadrin, however, those that do the mitzvah a little better. So ner l'chalechad ve'echad, they would do an individual candle for each person in the household, not just one for the household, but for every person in the household. And those that are even more want to beautify the mitzvah even more, so what they would do is they would add per day. So Beishamai Yomrim, Beishamai say how the order in that is Yom Rishon Madlik Shmona. The first day you do all 8 candles, Mikan ve'elach pachas v'halach, and then 7, and then 6, and then 5, all the way down. Or Beis Hillel Yomrim, and Beis Hillel say Yom Rishon Madlik Echad. The first day you light 1, Mikan ve'elach mosav v'halach, and from there you add on 1 per day. Amar Ula Pliga B'Atrei Amarai B'Marama. There were 2 opinions in Eretz Yisrael as to the basis for this. Rabbi Yosef Arav and Rabbi Yosef Razavida. Chad Amar, one explained that the basis for this time of the Beishamai connected Yom HaNachnosim. It's the reason of Beishamai is just like by Sukkot. The reason is that it's on the basis of the amount of people that are. It's on the basis of the amount of people that the amount of days of Hanukkah. So you look at the total days and then you go down. So you're counting down. Time of the Hillel connected Yom HaYotzim, and the days of Beis Hillel is how many days have already passed of Hanukkah. 1 day of Hanukkah, 2 days. And one said no. The basis is it's like the Sukkot karbanos, where the first day of Sukkot you have the most musaf karbanos, and then you go down to 7, from 13 to 7. So similarly over here, you count down from 8 to 1. By time of the Beis Hillel, the Malam HaKadosh V'Maridin, and the basis for Beis Hillel is that you go up. Anytime you do something in Kodesh, you always want to start at your baseline and then continue increasing it. And obviously, Hanukkah is about not only the candle, but also the reference to Torah and the ultimate kedusha that we always want to be increasing. Amar Rabba Babachana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shnei Zakenim Hayu b'Tzidan. There were 2 elders in Tzidan. Echad Asaka Beishamai, Echad Asaka Beis Hillel. One followed the opinion of Beishamai that they decreased each day, and one followed the opinion of Beis Hillel that increased. Zen Nosen Talmud Dvarim Kaparei Achag, and the one explained that they were like Sukkos, the bulls of the Musaf, which decreased each day. Zen Nosen Talmud Dvarim of the Malam HaKadosh V'Maridin. And the other explained because of general rule that you're always increasing in Kedusha. Obviously, the Gemara over here needs some explanation, and the depth of the mitzvah of Hanukkah and the messages of Hanukkah lie in the ideas of connection to the Musaf, as well as to the general concept of when you do Kedusha, you always want to increase. Thank you. This is the end of today's daf, and we will go to Shachris now.